Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, you're going to be listening to a hypnosis session created for a client that was using alcohol, in particular Bourbon whiskey, as a way of coping with the anxiety that came from Overwhelm. And that's not uncommon. I've worked with a lot of people that had alcohol dependency, and in most cases, alcohol has become used as a coping strategy to deal with unwanted, undesirable, and quite often intense emotions. I used to drink a lot of alcohol myself. I haven't drunk for about nearly 5 years. But when I was drinking, I was definitely using it if I was stressed, definitely using it if I was anxious, definitely using it if I felt unresourceful in coping with something difficult. You're going to hear various metaphors. There's two key metaphors in this hypnosis session. One is the idea of a leaky hose and Band-Aid plasters being used to try and stop the leak. Most people intuitively would know that they might work for a few minutes, but they're not going to work for very long. But it gives the illusion of it working. And I think for a lot of people dependent on alcohol, alcohol has the illusion that it's working, but it really doesn't, not in the long term. Because if you're feeling anxious because you're overwhelmed, but the alcohol doesn't give you the resources to then do what's necessary, it just makes you not care for a brief period of time, then when the alcohol wears off, you feel even more anxious because you've got just as much to get done as you did before. This client perceived themselves to be stuck in a rut. So you're going to hear a metaphor of a swamp, and it will make sense as to what this swamp represents, and also another metaphor of the sirens of ancient Greece. So there's at least 3 or 4 metaphors in this hypnosis session, but also certain suggestions that enabled this client to go back to a time where they felt more resourceful and imagine doing something that would create a chain reaction. So this client had a property that they could rent out on Airbnb, but only if certain things were done. But if it was on Airbnb, it would generate some income that could then pay for tradespeople and freelancers to do a lot of the other things that were currently feeling overwhelming for them because they didn't know how to do them. So there's quite a lot going on in this hypnosis session, but obviously it was tailored to an individual that drank bourbon, had a rental property that they weren't currently renting, and various other things that may not and is unlikely to apply to you if you're listening right now. So if you do have a feeling of dependency on alcohol, that you're using alcohol as a coping mechanism for anxiety, overwhelm, or stress, there will be a link in the show notes that you can schedule a free consultation call to explore working with me. But you might find that even though this session was created for someone else, it could somehow still be helpful or useful for you. In which case, the ideal way to listen to this would be to find a nice quiet place, somewhere comfortable like a sofa or a bed, to switch off any devices that might interrupt you, and to relax and to enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe in, just imagine breathing in a warm feeling of relaxation. And as you exhale, just allow any feelings of worry or stress to feel like it's leaving your body in your outward breath. That's right. With your eyes closed, I want you to pay attention to your surroundings, the temperature in the room, the rate of your breathing. Notice any tension in your body, any sounds around you, perhaps a ticking clock, sound of the wind or the weather outside. Even just the sound of a house has its own ambience. And I want you to notice that it's difficult to simultaneously pay attention to those other sounds and my voice at the same time. And I want you to allow your focused attention to swing like a pendulum, to swing from being focused on my voice to other things and then back to my voice. And I want you to imagine a swinging pendulum in front of your eyes going from the left to the right and back again. As you start to become deeper and deeper relaxed, eyes feeling heavier, loosening your jaw, feeling a desire to yawn and relax, breathing lower than your chest into your diaphragm. And as you exhale, just feeling a release of any pent-up tension, stress, or anxieties. Notice how good it feels to just let that tension go. I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine a long garden hose. Imagine putting the pressure on the hose and seeing that there is just a solitary leak halfway through the hose, the water spraying out from the leak. And I want you to imagine that you don't have a proper repair kit to fix it. All you have is some standard sticky plasters that you would use for a cut finger. And I want you to imagine taking that sticky plaster, putting it on the hose, and for 5 minutes or so, it feels like it's worked. The pressure is on the hose, but no water sprays out, not to begin with. But before very long, the water from inside the hose dilutes the adhesive. The sticky plaster falls off, and the hole in the hose is just as bad as it was before. But because temporarily that sticky plaster gave the illusion of helping, it has now become what you look at to fix that problem. In a day of using that hose, maybe you need 10 different sticky plasters. But you don't use the hose every day, so maybe it's just 2 to 4 sticky plasters on average a day. And over many years, you've got all the evidence in the world that these sticky plasters aren't helping that leaked hose. But instead of finding an actual solution, something that will actually stop the leaked hose, you continue to just buy more and more of these sticky plasters, even though deep down you know they don't work. I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine that you're in a car traveling towards a picturesque river. I want you to imagine that on the journey towards the river, you find yourself in some swampland. Your car gets stuck in the swamp, but no matter how hard you press the accelerator, the wheels spin but they don't move. It just makes you deeper and deeper into that swamp. But you don't know how to get out of the swamp. And you don't know anyone that can help you get out of the swamp. It doesn't feel like you can do it yourself. And I want you to imagine you can see a bottle of bourbon just there in that car. I want you to realize that if help was on hand, if there was a neighbor or a friend with a big truck and a big tow rope, you wouldn't even think about drinking that bourbon because there would be an actual solution to the problem. But given that there isn't a truck or a tow rope around, alcohol is just a poor substitute for solving the problem, because it doesn't solve the problem. It just makes that feel of anxiety there in your gut disappear for just a few minutes. And the question is, how long are you willing to stay stuck in the swamp? Each time you take a sip of that whiskey, it doesn't move you out of the swamp. If anything, the car is sinking deeper and deeper into the swamp. And I want you to get a sense that while you're stuck in the swamp, there is a beautiful river to see, things to do, and I want you to feel an increasing resolve to get out of that swamp. And I want you to remember a time when you were motivated, a time that you were great at solving problems, a time in your life where if you couldn't do something, you would find someone else to help you. And when you can recall a time in your life like that, let me know by nodding your head. And I want you to imagine going back in time and seeing that version of you. Your posture, your facial expressions. A lot can be communicated in how someone stands and how they move. And there is something about that version of you that gets things done. I want you to mimic their expression, their body language, the way they breathe. There are certain things in life you can't forget. You couldn't forget to speak or read if you tried. Once you know how to ride a bike, you can't forget. So all that motivation, determination, tenacity, and willpower you had back then still exists within you. I want you to step into that version of you. Feel how good it feels to reconnect with that feeling of belief, motivation, determination, with the stark realization that alcohol doesn't help, it holds you back. Like the sirens of ancient Greece, calling your name, distracting you, stopping you from doing what needs to be done. But you have the willpower to resist the sirens, to do what needs to be done. And I want you to take this feeling of motivation, determination, this do whatever it takes mentality, to see a future version of you doing some work that you've been putting off for a while. I want you to see yourself cleaning a cabin, making it look nice, taking pictures, listing this on sites where people could stay there as a guest. I want you to see yourself ordering furniture, doing whatever's necessary to make this a good experience for someone to stay in. And then imagine seeing your facial expression of relief and delight when you get that first person booking. There's a bit of anticipation, a bit of nerves, but see that you get over that quickly. And then see that you do everything you can to make that first stay a truly enjoyable experience. You see that they give you a good review and more bookings follow. But I want you to see yourself as someone that uses the money that flows from those bookings to find tradespeople, plumbers, electricians or fitters to do other things that perhaps you don't know how to do. And you're creating a chain reaction, like when one domino hits another domino hits another domino. You don't have to do everything, because once you get that first cabin ready, the money then is used for other problems to be solved. And when those other problems solved, another cabin is ready, and then more money flows in to pay for other things that need to be done. Before you know it, that to-do list that was overwhelming feels very achievable. And when it feels like you're in control of your life, there is no leak on the hose. So there is no need for those sticky plasters. I want you to imagine you're back in that car in that swamp, but this time, help is on hand. There's a big truck with a tow rope attached to yours, and other people are putting sticks and gravel under your wheels, giving it grip. And slowly but surely, you leave the swamp. But I want you to imagine you've been in that swamp for 3 years. And to spend 3 years in a swamp creates a huge desire to avoid ever going back into that swamp. You're wiser now, stronger now. And once you escape, you don't want to go back. So imagine how good it would feel to drive to the river, see the water flowing, feel like the past is the past and each day is a new page in the book of your life. That those previous chapters give you lots to learn from, but this new chapter doesn't look backwards, it looks forwards. One day, one page at a time. You enjoy the river and you start to imagine a brighter future. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because it never will be. Because if things are good, you're grateful for it. And if things can be improved, it gives you something to focus on, to do, a problem to solve. And if you can do it, you'll do it. And if you can't, you'll find someone else to do it. And if it can't be done at all, you'll accept you just have to live with it and find a workaround to that problem. I want you to imagine returning to your home, only this time, that hose that was leaky now looks like it's fixed. Not with a sticky plaster, but with thick vinyl tape. Waterproof vinyl tape that won't fall off in 5 minutes and will treat that hose like it's brand new. I want you to get a sense that you have unlocked powerful resources that were always there, but you had forgotten about. You are unlocking the confidence, the resolve, and from this point forward, alcohol becomes the tempting sirens to try and lure you back into the swamp. They want you back in the swamp because then you're trapped. But once you've escaped the swamp and you know the sirens are there to ensnare you, then there is no desire to fall into the old stories of the past that alcohol helps. Alcohol never helped. Just an illusion to keep you stuck in the swamp. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Feel like you're returning to the present with a new perspective, a new way of thinking about your life, a new way of thinking about alcohol, and the desire to create a chain reaction in your life that is powerful, empowering, positive, and gives you more of what you want and less of what you don't. Starting to count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.